Yeah, so welcome to the first official joint podcast.
What's
Um,
good?
what's good? I'm Mitesh.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, and let's just get right into it. But yeah, basically, like the premise is anything really that we want to talk about, anything on our
Anything
minds.
really. And then like today I guess we're gonna be focusing on like UFC, like the fight on what was it, Saturday.
Yeah, which was a hell of a fight, by the way. I'd
Dude,
say
it
one
was
for the ages.
yeah, it was nuts. Okay, like for me that was the first UFC fight that like I was interested in more than just the main event. Like
Oh, so true.
we were watching like three of the four of the fights.
So true. So true. I mean, you literally had everything, right? From basically Nick Diaz going, and the crowd
Yes.
completely loving him. And actually, you told me an interesting story about Nick Diaz, or kind of, your take on it and kind of what you think about, how the UFC like perceives him and
Yeah. So I think so basically this was Nick Diaz's return in like almost 6 years, and he got suspended. He had like there was a 5-year ban placed on him for using marijuana. And like obviously now we're looking back and like that's the stupidest thing ever because it's legal now. It's like a 5-year ban, like you could murder someone and
yeah.
have a shorter ban than that. So it was like ridiculous. But like he was coming back and like in his interviews he was talking about like, oh dude, I don't even want to fight. Like I'm just doing this because they're kind of like forcing me to do it. It was like very unclear, and a lot of people were like concerned for him, like going into the fight. But like, goddamn, dude, he was phenomenal. Like he looked pretty good.
Yeah. No, I think he looked really good, and you made a really good point about how kind of, he came out previously talking about, how like he's just doing this because this is just who he is. It's
Hmm.
not necessarily as to whether he has like um, a certain liking or passion, but he's basically just telling everyone, look, man, I'm an animal, like this is what I do. It is in me. And like you said, and I think it's very true. The crowd loves him, win or lose, and I think we saw that as well on Saturday. Um, even when he did in the end like take the loss, everyone was just rightfully so, showing him love. Um,
Yeah.
and I think there's very few sports where you have that kind of level of bond with like the audience and the athlete. So I just thought that was really cool to see.
That's a really good point. Like you see it with obviously McGregor and like these stars, but like
Yeah.
even if you're a title holder, you may not get that kind of love that
Yeah.
the Diaz brothers do. And like, why do you think that is? Like, why do you think
Yeah.
the fans kind of like them so much?
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think it's safe to say the same thing goes, um, with his brother Nate, right? Is at the end of the day, I mean, these guys are literally just like they're genetically gifted, and like we were talking about this too previously, where, um, yes, like their record might not look so clean, but at the end of the day, man, like these guys fight like dogs, like
Dogs.
they're dogs
Yeah.
inside. And I think that has a huge part of why, there's a huge fan base around them and people love them because, again, as we talked about earlier, like at the end of the day, like they're literally built for this. It is in them. I mean, if they weren't doing this, I really don't know what else they'd be doing. And I think people seem to like recognize that, and they can cheer for that. Because, and no disrespect to Connor, Connor loves the sport. He's very, very passionate about the sport. But I think with Connor, there's an additional goal of him trying to make a lot of money from the sport, which is great. That's how it should be, right?
Hmm.
But I don't really know if I sense that. As I sense with Nate and Nick, there's more a hunger for actually, getting to enjoy the sport and getting to actually fight and like get in there, as opposed to like, like running up millions and making like a huge name brand. They don't
Yeah.
really care about like showing off about how much of like a character they are to everyone. Like they're really in there to just kill. And again, I think people recognize that. And
Yeah, no, that dude, that's actually so true because the Diaz brothers, they are literally they just want a war. Every time
yeah,
they fight, it's like a 5-round slugfest. Like obviously this time, Nick, he got stopped in the third, but I think that's just like a little bit of ring rust. Like we were talking about it, it looked like he could go longer if he wanted to. It's just like, why? Like he was, kind of getting battered, and like on your first fight back, it's like kind of hard to will yourself through that slugfest. I mean, props to Robbie Lawler, right? Like he's also like pretty much as old as Nick Diaz. I think like maybe a year off, but he looked phenomenal, dude. He looked like goddamn Mike Tyson, like the way he was just marching forward and like throwing haymakers, but they were accurate too. So like I mean, I thought like for their age, like what, 38 years old,
Yeah.
like fighting like that, dude, that was amazing.
It was amazing. No, you're absolutely right. And even just like going up to basically like the main card, like Volkanovski, that and I didn't even know that before, but like you were mentioning that they actually had some like ongoing beef, right? Like it was actually like relatively real. It didn't seem the beef didn't seem as fabricated.
Yeah, so I think like I guess a lot of people, they don't really watch the UFC like the fight series where they have both of the like contenders like Volkanovski and Ortega. They coach a bunch of fighters and they like train them, and then they have this tournament. So it's like this whole show that the UFC does where the fighters kind of get to know each other, and I guess in this case they didn't really like each other too much. Like just little things annoyed each other about them. So yeah, the beef, like as you said, was like pretty real leading up to the fight. And I mean, you could see it, dude. Like both of them, they wanted to like take each other's heads off. Like that third round, it was insane. Like, I mean, you speak on it first. Like from like the fights you've seen, like what did you think of that third round?
Oh, that third round. I mean, particularly, I would say the third, even because it was a total of a five round fight, right? So it's like even like the fourth and the fifth. I mean, everything was just like, it was just,
it was nuts.
I mean, truly, it kind of left me speechless because there are so many different, pivot points throughout the fight, and I think the amount of, like dedication and perseverance they both showed, man, I've not seen that in a main card let me rephrase that. I haven't seen as much in a main card in a while, because normally fights don't go to distance like that.
Yeah, and I think the amount of switches and momentum there were within that fight. Like I came into the fight thinking like, what, I think Volkanovski is gonna take it. Then throughout the fight, you saw Ortega like catching a bunch of his kicks and like landing a few solid strikes. It's like shit. Like the fans are definitely on Ortega's side. And then in the third round, he like hits him with a straight and wraps up that guillotine like he's choking the goddamn life out of him. You see Volkanovski's eyes, like they're like wide open. He's like, shit, dude, like I might lose the title right here and now. And it's like, yo, dude, no way. Like, holy shit, he's gonna pull it off. And then like Volkanovski, to his credit, he gets out, and then everyone's like, oh, okay, thank God, like he's surviving until he gets put in the triangle again. And at that point, you're like, holy shit, dude. Like, both of these guys are just amazing, like, fighters, warriors, whatever you want to call them. And I'm glad, like, that was the main card title fight. Like, both these guys are at, like, the best of the featherweight division.
No, I agree. And, that was very, very well said. Like, that was a hell of a main card fight. And, like I was saying, there were so many points, right, where Volkanovski was basically pinned down right on the ground, and the same thing with Ortega, and everyone thought that they might not be able to get up, or that it might be the end of a fight, or that the ref might call it. I mean, there was a lot of blood, man, but like the fact that these guys still ended up like pushing through.
I mean, dude. What did you think Ortega was concussed by the end of that? Because I thought
he would have had to be.
Yeah,
there's no way he wasn't, and the fact that he still chose to kind of push through and fight. I mean, I think that kind of speaks volumes to like who he is as a person. And again, same thing goes to Volkanovski, is like these guys, like they really push through. I mean, like there's certain things that people will kind of like push through it, but like when you're putting yourself like that out on the line in front of like millions of people, you know, and you have the courage and the belief and like the determination in yourself to kind of push through all of that. You know, like I mean, literal physical hardships like they were.
Yeah.
Like you said, I mean, you call them warriors, you know. I mean, they are the very definition of warriors.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I guess like the last fight I kind of wanted to talk about was Valentina Chavchenko.
Yeah.
Like speaking of like warriors, right? Like she has to be like one of the goats in MMA at this point. She is literally, her record is spotless except for Amanda Nunes, who like a lot of people consider the female like MMA goat. Like aside from her, like dude, she looked so sharp, like so fast, and she got the finish, right? Like that 5th round, we both saw it. Like she's lightning quick, dude.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, she's lightning quick, but then also on top of that, she's such a class act. Like even like at the end, and even like through her like interviews, you know, she's very humble, and like even then like determined. But I like how you also made that comparison to her and Amanda Nunes. And I would actually say that, you know what, it's safe to say that they're kind of both in the same level of, I guess, like prestige, you know, when it comes to like women fighting and the UFC, right?
No, yeah, I would definitely agree. Like, I think when you look at the goats of the sport, like men and women, I feel like you have to put both of them up there, like Valentina and Amanda. And like in terms of like fight IQ, like obviously there are like a lot of physical differences between like the male and female like weight divisions, but like I think in terms of fight IQ, Valentina is probably like top 3 smartest fighters across like, you know, both genders. It's just like the moves that she like strings together, her combos, like like people like they praise her all the time. Like, you know, she's not just like gifted athletically, but she's like super intelligent when it comes to you know, fighting, and in the moment, like being able to piece those together. It's difficult. Like
it's very difficult, you know, especially because like and you know, I think you put it like the best way, right? In terms of like fight IQ. You know, things like that, like, yes, you know, you can train for, but ultimately I feel like, you know, you need to have a certain like it factor, or, you know, whether it's your like experience that kind of ingrains it in you or builds it in you. I think it's safe to say that you're right. You know, like she definitely does have a very high fight IQ, but the fact that you also put her in the top 3, right, across both men and women for highest fight IQ. I think that's a great point. But then to that point, who do you think would be first and second?
Oh shit, that's a good point. So like, I guess we're talking about like currently active, right, in the UFC?
Totally, yeah.
Okay. I think you got to put like Adesanya up there. I feel like Adesanya.
Yeah.
he's just a student, bro. Like, I can't wait to like see his future fights. Just like, I don't know, everything he does, it seems like there is like clear intention behind it. Like you'll see people like great fighters, like Jan, right? He beat Adesanya, but I think like technically, you know, Adesanya still looked sharper in that. It's just like the wrestling. I think the weight difference definitely favored Jan. So I think Adesanya is like up there, and I don't know, the other one. There are a bunch to choose from. I kind of limited myself to like.
No, I mean,
but maybe I feel like Poirier is also like the way he talks about like fighting. It's just like he's also like a student of the game, like the leg kicks, and then anticipating Conor to come out kick heavy in that trilogy fight. Like, I was like, damn, like dude, this guy's a strategist. Like he's thinking like multiple fights ahead, and he's prepared for everything. So I'd say those 3.
No, I agree, and I think I fully agree with that assessment too. And I like how you also made sure to ask like you know, like whether it's basically current and active fighters, because then I'm also curious, if that wasn't the case, where would you be ranking Khabib on that scale of like high fight IQ?
Dude, I don't even know. Like, Khabib, I feel like he's obviously really smart, right? But I don't know if I'd put him as like the smartest fighters.
Yeah. Oh,
I
why?
think
Why? Why? Why?
because I feel like he's just such a savant in wrestling. I think
Hmm.
I don't really see him like adapting on the fly in certain rounds. Like he has one game plan, and there's no like diss to him. It's like if you have one sharp weapon, like you just polish that and you're
Yeah.
good. Like he knew wrestling, and that was his game plan rounds 1 through 5. Like you see people like um, Poirier who like will switch it up between like calf kicks to like switching stances, or like Adesanya, like he switches stances all the time. Sometimes he'll incorporate like
Hmm.
jujitsu and stuff, or he'll try to.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I don't think like I don't know. Would you put Khabib like
No,
top
well, I
five?
was actually gonna say like that's a really good point, and I never, I didn't really think about it like that either. Is you bring up that like differentiation, right, between
Yeah,
him like leveraging, right, and being like a savant in his wrestling skills, as opposed, right, to like intrinsic IQ, meaning the ability to adapt on the fly, right? Like
yeah,
whether, your rebuttal comes in the form of something that's, like a wrestling or non-wrestling technique, you know? But I like how you really made that indication, because I honestly never thought about it like that.
mhm.
Um, to that point, I'm starting to question myself now. Does how high is because honestly before that I was gonna rank him as like number one, man.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I definitely like. I don't know. I think in terms of dominance, right? You have to, right? He's
Hmm.
won pretty much every round. There are 2 rounds that people question, like, oh, maybe he lost, and that definitely requires a certain level of intelligence and like depth of
Yeah.
understanding of the sport of like wrestling, of balance, everything. But I guess one question I want to ask you is, we're at almost end of September. We've seen like a
Hmm.
bunch of great fights this year. Connor fought twice. You had like a bunch of
Yes, sir.
champions rise and fall. Who are you most excited to see fight in the remainder of this year?
Ooh, in the remainder of this year, man. You know what? Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Okay. Damn. Just one person. Like I can. I
You,
can.
you can give like a top like 3.
All right, bro. Here's honestly my problem is all of my picks are gonna be guys that are already pretty like hyped out.
Mm-hmm.
And call me biased or not, maybe because they get the most coverage, but it is because they are the best fighters,
Yeah.
right? That's another thing I'll say is, like, for example, I would probably rank, um, dude, number one is Adesanya. I'm really excited for him to get back to, just to get back in the octagon, and for me, his fighting style is so unique, you know, and I think that says a lot about, or a lot of it is attributed to like, the way he was like brought up, right? Like born in Nigeria, right? Then I believe he lived in New Zealand. He was training in New Zealand. Um, but so like he's got a lot of kind of, um, he's got a lot of like unique style to him, and unique flair, and even with the fact that he's like what, like 6'3", 6'4", he seems honestly like a pretty like, lanky guy, because he's like long armed, right, and long legs. He's got very long arms and long legs. So I'd say that, yeah, probably I'm interested to see what else he does new, and um, his fights are always interesting, man. Then next would be Dustin Poirier, probably.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, I'm really, really excited to see Dustin Poirier get back, in the ring. He did Connor in, and
Right.
I mean, dude, mostly too, like Poirier is just a class act of like a fighter. Um, and that's something I respect about him. So I think it'd be great to see him get back in the ring. And then thirdly, man, you know what, dude? I don't know if I'd want to say, the old. So like, let's put it this way. Before last week, I would have told you Connor, but
Mm-hmm.
after that game, man, I want to see Ortega and or Volkanovski in their own separate fights. I want to see what they've both learned from this fight, because
Ooh.
honestly, what it seems like, man, is they both got a lot more public exposure, like via this fight, you know, and
You know, that's definitely true.
right, and I feel like this fight has had a greater weightage on each of their careers relative to, you know, previous fights that they've had. I don't know why I feel like that's the case. I just feel like this fight was, because it was such a spectacle, it drew a lot more eyes and a lot more fans interested in them. And they have to be self-aware of that. And because they're self-aware of that, I want to see how they change their training style, their technique, their fighting style. And, you know, I want to see, like, do they get better? Do they get better? Or like, you know, or do they just remain stagnant, you know? Like, so I'm very, very curious to see.
Yeah, that's a good point, because like the fact that you felt that, like I also felt that, like, this was both of their biggest fights. Like, in terms of public exposure, I think a lot of people were buzzing about it. And I think it's partly due to the fact their performance was so good. Like, the fight was such a great fight that more eyes are on them than ever. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. But I guess, so like my top three would be, one is actually, this is I feel like kind of an underdog pick, Rose Namajunas. I think I butchered her last name. So she is actually the current, I think it's strawweight champion, 115 pounds, like for the female weight classes. Wow. And she has a rematch with Zhang Weili, and I'm so excited to see like how that turns out, because last time it was like knockout within like 2 minutes. And like, I don't know, it's so interesting to see, like, because that division is like stacked. Like, anyone can knock anyone out at any given point. So I think they're gonna fight in like November. So I'm like so hyped for that. Mm-hmm. And also, like, Rose is just like, everyone loves Rose. Like, she's so like innocent, sweet. Like, I feel like it's impossible not to root for her. Second, I think I'm gonna have to agree with you, Dustin Poirier. I need to see the uncrowned king come back one more time this year, and see, you know, if he can actually touch gold, UFC gold. I feel like he deserves it, and like, you know, everyone, that's the fight everyone wants to see. Everyone's waiting for Dustin to like get that title shot. And then I think third for me would be Max Holloway. Like, he looked so dominant against Calvin Kattar earlier this year, and like, you know, you're talking about Ortega, Volkanovski. Holloway is like the next person in that division. Like, those three are like the top of the division. So those two had their fight. Now it's Holloway's turn to like show the world, like, hey, I'm still in the running for this, you know, championship fight. So I think those are my three.
Hey, bro, you know, no, that is a great point. And I would even add on as a fourth, man. I want to see Nick Diaz get back. You know, I mean, sorry, Nate Diaz, his brother. I know Nick fought, but I want to see Nate, man. I miss Nate.
Dude, we all miss Nate. The Stockton brothers, the Stockton slap.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be great to see Nate. But also, you know, I kind of wanted to ask a different topic now. What do you think, man, about you know, and this actually just happened today, right? That Tyron Woodley actually got that tattoo.
Oh my God!
Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Did you know about that?
Yeah. I saw that.
Yeah, you saw that?
Dude, I think it's the stupidest thing, if I'm being honest. Like, there's no way Jake Paul is fighting Tyron Woodley again. There's like nothing to gain from that for him. No. He's already beaten Tyron Woodley, right? Like, if I'm a fan of Jake Paul, I don't want him to see like him beat someone he's already beaten again. That doesn't prove to me anything. Like, I want to see him beat like an actual boxer, or like maybe someone even heavier than Tyron Woodley, or someone who's closer to their prime. Like, I feel like Tyron Woodley, he's like desperate to get that rematch because he lost to Jake Paul. But I don't think the fight's gonna happen, so I think the tattoo is pointless.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I mean, you know, like Jake Paul's PR team and, you know, their publicist team, they're smarter than that, right? They already know that, you know, the majority of people are kind of aware that Jake Paul's kind of, you know, he's proven himself, man, by beating Tyron Woodley, you know? Like, he's had a lot of like people who doubted him before, and then I feel like this it hasn't solidified anything, but it's at least shown people like, look, he's not all talk, right?
Yeah.
And so, like to your point, right? Jake Paul's team is smart enough to know that, look, they have nothing to gain. They already have kind of that public, I feel like there's more of like a public favorite now, towards Jake Paul than there was previously, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no, that's a good point. The public, I think, are now accepting the Paul brothers as like, okay, they're legitimate, not even just athletes, like they're legitimate boxers. Logan Paul was the first person to not be defeated by Mayweather, and Jake Paul is pretty much sweeping the UFC. As much as it pains me to say that.
No, I know. It is.
Yeah.
I will say this though, like, and it's interesting to I think it reflects badly, right, on Tyron for actually getting that tattoo.
Yeah.
Even though it was on his middle finger, right?
Yeah.
The fact that he still got it, showing that, he's still salty about the loss, like I respect the fact that he wants a rematch, but after that, man, it's just like, look, just own what happened. Like, the fight didn't go your way, but don't reveal your desperation by getting a tattoo on your finger and then asking for like a rematch.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Tyron is a monster. If it was UFC or MMA, he would kill Jake Paul. That's not even a question, right?
Yeah,
like,
easily.
Yeah.
Even Ben Askren, dude. Like, Ben Askren
100%.
would probably be able to beat Jake Paul.
100%. I mean, again, like these are all like strategic picks, like by Jake's team,
Yeah.
In a whole other different sport, other than the UFC, right? Boxing, and then.
Yeah. If Jake Paul fought like either of these, or like oppose either of these guys in their sports, like, bro, Nate Robinson dust Jake Paul in boxing, Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley dust him in UFC. It's like Jake Paul's like, his whole thing is he's smart, right? Like, he's like, okay, I'm gonna drag you into this sport, which,
right,
you guys, okay, UFC kind of similar to boxing, but it's not really the same thing. So yeah.
No, spot on, and he knows too that, like, I mean, we can get into it, but as we're all aware, obviously, his team knows exactly what they're doing. There's too much money involved to be made for them to not be that calculated, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's literally had, like, media investors, like, back up his team. And, hey, you know what, man? Like, he's doing, I guess, what he has to do, and, like, people at the end of the day are buying it. Like, he's not forcing anyone to pay pay-per-view, and tune into this.
Yeah, true.
And, I mean, it's working, so... if people really hate him and they like, or they don't want to hear about them like they claim they do, then don't watch any of those YouTube clips or highlights. Don't subscribe to that stuff on your Facebook feed. Like, live out your words.
Yeah.
Like, shit, man. He actually made something happen. But yeah, I think. But still, with that being said, I think it'll be interesting to see what he does next and what his next move is. We all know he was trying to call out Conor to make something happen. I don't think that'll ever happen. I think Conor's way smarter than that, and Conor knows too that it would almost tarnish his own kind of brand name if he fought little Jakey boy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he shouldn't meddle with the YouTubers.
No, not even YouTubers, bro. Like, just like the maturity of Jake Paul just seems like let's put it this way. I mean, like, Conor is a bad man, like, but yeah. I can say that Conor shows signs of maturity though. Like,
yeah, like, I think his philosophy towards fighting is definitely like more refined.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. And he's more mature in the sense of how he presents himself the majority of times, right? Because we all know he has his incidents. But the majority of times, the way he presents himself to the media and the interviews, when he's asked questions and he answers, right? As opposed to Jake Paul. Like, we're talking about two complete different like maturity levels. And you know, obviously Conor's in this for excellence. I think Jake's mostly in this to just kind of I mean, yeah, you know, he's getting what he gets out of boxing, but it still seems like his motives are kind of directed elsewhere. You know, like whether it be towards money or like increasing his brand image. I think Conor is a good example, right, of someone who's built for this sport.
Yeah.
But obviously Conor loves money, but it's different, man. It's different. I feel it. It's different.
Don't compare Conor.
I can't put it into words, but it's different. Yeah, you know, it's almost disrespectful to compare those two together.
No, for sure.
So,
All
yeah,
right.
man.
Yeah.
Hey, well, what do you think? I think you know, that was our first episode. I think we had a pretty good
Yeah, discussion going on.
yeah, pretty good discussion going on. I think we'll
Yeah.
definitely yeah.
Yeah, we're hyped to like review, like, you know, because we're both fans of the UFC, so like to talk about it, especially after like an electrifying fight like UFC 266. It's fun for us, so yeah. Hopefully it's for you guys.
No, I think it's fun for us, and I'm excited to see kind of, you know, where this podcast goes and like what it becomes, you know, because ultimately there's so many interesting things going on right now. You know, even outside of the UFC, right? There's already so much going on in the UFC and so much more happening in the future. But you know, even in just sports and entertainment in general, it's been an interesting couple of years, to say the least. So I'm excited to see where the next couple go too.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah, all right. Well, hey, you know what? Thank you all for tuning in, for those that did listen. And I guess till next time. Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.